Hi, we're going to make sugar paste today. So, for your information and for your records, I've written the recipe here for you, which you'll be able to copy down a little bit later. But first, let's start with our sugar paste. So what we're going to need from the recipe, we're going to need 454 grams of confectioner's sugar, or 10x sugar. We're going to put it in our bowl like this. Set it on the mixer and have that ready. In the meantime, we're going to take gelatin, CMC, and gum tragacan. The gum tragacan and the CMC are boxyl menthol cellulose gum, which is called CMC, is one of the gums that helps to make our sugar paste come all together and have its nice flexibility. We also need to have some gelatin in there to keep it firm. So we're first going to bloom our gelatin. How we're going to do it is we're going to take 70 milliliters of water and put that in a bowl first. Then we take the gelatin and sprinkle that across the surface to make sure that it dissolves very well. If you just pour the gelatin in a bowl and then put the water in there, it has a tendency to clump up. So instead we'll just sprinkle it across the top. Let it dissolve and it will begin to bloom. That's going to take a couple of minutes, so we'll set that to the side. So again, that's going to be one of the first things you want to do. Okay? Then we're also going to take our gums and we're going to put them in with our powdered sugar. Now you can heat this up very lightly in an oven to start it beforehand, but if you heat your gelatin once it's bloomed with a little bit of water, it'll be warm enough to kind of melt the sugars and make the paste come together very quickly. Either way, it's going to work. It's not necessary to heat it, but you can if you want to. It'll speed up the process. If you're going to do that, you'll put the sugar with the gums and the paddle, wrap it with foil, and then put that in a 200-degree oven for about 20 minutes, just enough to get it warm. So, now we've put the gelatin in and we've allowed it to bloom. You want to be able to see that all the granulations have kind of swollen. So once done, I have my glucose already in a pre-measured plastic bag. I'm going to snip it at the bottom, which is going to make it easier for me to add it to my gelatin without getting my hands a complete sugary mess. Once added, I'm going to take it and put it in a little boiling water to help dissolve the gelatin, bring everything to a nice liquid consistency, and make it easier to combine with my sugar. It'll only take a few minutes, and we want to get it fairly hot, warm enough so that it will really melt our sugar and we'll have a beautiful paste. So that looks like it's almost there. I'll give it just a minute more. I can begin to see, and I'm going to show you how the gelatin will melt out into a nice clear liquid. So now I have melted my gelatin. You can see that the liquid is nice and clear, and on the bottom is my glucose. Or, if you don't have glucose, you can always use corn syrup. Same thing. It'll work the same way. I'm going to stir those two together. Make sure that they're well combined. And I'll stir from the center. I won't change my direction. I'll continue to stir from the center. That's also what you do when you're trying to create an emulsion. So I have a nice liquid here. It's warm. I'm going to start my machine on low. I'm going to pour the hot liquid all at once. Scrape my bowl, make sure I get all of my glucose in there. The glucose is going to help to keep the sugar paste soft. And right now you can see that I have a nice paste going. So I'm going to bring the speed up just a little higher. Which is cooling down the paste and making it thick. I'll make sure I get all of those little pieces worked out. Once done, and this is good, I'm going to stop the machine and remove it. I have I've already pulled my paste together. I'm going to put just a little bit of oil. Now you can use, the best thing to use is a little bit of Crisco. If you don't, just a little vegetable oil, just to create a little resistance. You can also use a little 10x sugar if you need it on the surface, and that depends on whether or not your paste is too thin. If you added too much water when you were blooming your gelatin, you may have to work a little bit more sugar into the paste to make sure that it has the right consistency. So right there, take the paste. I'll put a little bit of powdered sugar across the surface. Just a little bit. I'll put just a little oil on my hands again just to keep it from sticking. Scrape the paste. You may find it will stick. That's a natural occurrence for the sugar. And I have a nice consistency here. It has like a dough consistency. I'll stretch it. And there I have my sugar paste. Now to keep this, what I'm going to do is I need to let it rest for 24 hours before I'm going to use it. So I'll take a piece of plastic, put it in the plastic, and roll it like a sausage. And then tie the ends very tight. Now this sugar paste will last for months. You can have it up to a year in the freezer. So if you have a particular color that you want to make and you can't always get that color together, you've kind of not perfected making it the perfect shade, but you just need it for one party, or it's a particular color that you want to repeat and use again, you can make large quantities of this, tie it up, put it in a food saver bag, empty out all the air, and then stick it in the freezer, and you always have your sugar paste to use. If you're going to use this tomorrow, I will take this and put this in a plastic bag and then put it in the refrigerator to firm up. Always keep your sugar paste refrigerated because the gums will begin to ferment. And if that happens, then the paste begins to come apart and become hard. And there you have your sugar paste. So if you enjoyed that, please press the button.